This episode is brought to you by Bleacher Report. How do you follow sports? From college football to the NBA, Bleacher Report brings you the latest news, live scores, and epic highlights from your favorite leagues, teams, and athletes, all in one app. Dive into exclusive shows hosted by your favorite athletes and original Bleacher Report series with breaking news, rumors, and predictions all season long. Download Bleacher Report to personalize your coverage.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Money decisions don't have to be either or. With Bank of America, they can be yes and. Like yes to sunny vacations and rainy day funds. Can our digital tools and guidance help you create the future you want? Yes. And help you keep enjoying today too. Do more with a bank that asks, what would you like the power to do? Explore our tips and more at bankofamerica.com/yes and.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening via Zencaster, just an hour or so after the Islanders 3-2 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins, is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, over the course of the last week, we have yet more evidence as to why the New York Islanders cannot and should not be trusted under any circumstances whatsoever. We saw them play a terrific game last Saturday. We were effusive on our last podcast about how well they played against the Maple Leafs. They followed that up with one of their most embarrassing, if not the single most embarrassing moment of the season. A couple of nights later against Buffalo, they rebounded with a fairly okay performance on Saturday night against the Penguins. And then a night later against the same exact Penguins, they basically took 55 minutes off before pretending to play hockey and making it close and then ultimately losing in regulation again. I don't know how much more I can take of this team and their consistent inconsistency. I don't know how else to put it. Where are you at right now after this? Nobody deserves this during the holidays, right? I mean, it's stressful enough as it is. We got to deal with this too.
Yeah, I'm kind of just bored with it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just bored of the Islanders.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's. I think that would probably be the first time I've said that in a long time. Maybe last year I might have said it, but last year I was more frustrated than bored, and now I'm just kind of bored of it because it's the same thing over and over again. There's the joke isn't funny anymore either. You know, it's like when the Islanders take a penalty and you're like, oh well, you know where this is going, and it's not funny because it's true. Like the Penguins went 2 for 2 on the power play tonight.
Right.
2 for 2. I think they went 1 for 4 the night before, but one of those kills 2 seconds later, the Penguins scored on.
Right.
So the Islanders went, do you remember a couple weeks ago when the Islanders beat the Senators and they went 2 for 2 on the power play? And what I said, I was like, you know why this sucks? Like, I'm not even happy that they scored 2 power play goals because that means they've used up their power play goals for their, the next few weeks. And I think since then they're 0 for 15 on the power play.
Oh my God.
Like it's not funny. It's not fun. It's boring.
Right.
It's just a boring team. I mean, you can, I think even my wife Emily sees it. Like when I'll turn the game on and I'll just go into the other room and watch, and she'll come in and be like, "Oh, you're watching the Islanders?" Like, yeah, and she'll be like, "I didn't even realize they were playing," which is not a normal for me because I'm such a loser that when they're playing, it becomes a thing. I'm pacing, I'm biting my nails, and
Yeah.
but now it's just just flip them on like people talk about the second round of a golf tournament. It's nothing on. I'll just have this on for ambient noise in the background.
Yeah. I closed the laptop, and after about 5 minutes, my wife Anna Maria went, "Oh, it's over?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Did they win?" I'm like, "No, they lost. They lost 3-2. Oh, so that was I'm like, "Yeah, that's it. I'm going to talk to Mike in a few minutes to do the podcast." Oh, that's it? I'm like, yeah. Like that's just every single game is like this.
Matter of fact, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I did the same exact thing on Saturday. I just closed it and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, they won 6-3. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool."
That same thing, right? Now those two games for sure, and then the game on Monday, I think that's really when the boredom kicked in because the way that the Islanders played on Monday was so despicable and abhorrent, like from a fan's perspective, considering the stakes.
Right.
And I'm sure that everyone listening to the show has had this experience before, whether it's with the Islanders or maybe it's a game that you're playing, a big game you have coming up, or if you have like another team you root for, something like that, where you go to sleep and you have a dream about the game that you're anticipating, or like you'll dream that the Islanders. I remember when they lost that game to the Capitals a couple years ago, where if they had won, they basically had clinched the playoff, and then the Capitals were up 2-0 within like 30 seconds. And it was so sad that we had to have an emergency podcast. I remember I still have dreams about that game. Like even in the summer, be like, "Oh man, the Islanders lost last night, a terrible game. Like we're not gonna make the playoffs." And I wake up, I'm like, "Oh, it's July 18th. Like I just had a." But that Sabres game played out like one of those dreams. So to have that taste in your mouth through the whole holiday, and then to go into this Penguins game, which is it's like a sort of a big game. It's only a big game if they win and then win the next one, and then do go on a little bit of a run. So yeah, like that's, you want me to get amped up for these games after you have that experience on a Monday before Christmas? No, I'm bored of it. I'm just kind of bored of it. I'm bored of, there's nothing, what's exciting about watching the Islanders play right now? And I'm not even saying like, "Oh, these are the boring Islanders," like
Right.
how we were derided. It's not even that. It's just boring because of the way the season has played out. And I haven't been excited for a game. When's the last time you were excited for a game? Like I was like, big game for the Islanders. Really hope they win.
Oh, we talked about this. I think it was opening night.
That
was
right?
it. That's the only one. And then what did they do? They played exactly the same way they played all last year. So there went that excitement right out the window.
Right. So we're here. We're like, had they ever won 3 games in a row in the season, then we'd be like, yeah, that fourth game we were excited for, they lost, but they haven't done that. They've won 2 games in a row twice.
Yeah.
What? How can this team, which is, and I know we'll go into the games in further detail one by one in a little bit, but how can this team, which is, they've all been around the block, even the youngest players on the team, putting Isaiah George aside,
right?
The youngest players in terms of like NHL experience right now, Kyle McLean, Simon Holmstrom, they've been around. They were here last year when the Islanders were doing this shit. I just don't understand how nobody has. Do you remember last year that the Toronto like ate itself because William Nylander and Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews got into that little spat on the bench during the playoffs, and then the Amazon series came out, and they're like, "Oh, we're so excited, we get to see what they said," but there's none of that. There's no emotion from anybody. So maybe like is a team bored too? I don't know. I don't. Do you remember? I think I brought it up before. Like Hiroki Kuroda, the old Yankees pitcher, always would talk about how he doesn't like playing baseball. It's just his job.
Right.
I feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel that way.
Well, it reminds me of Todd Bowles, who's obviously having a lot of success right now with the Tampa Bay Bucks, but coached the Jets for a while and had one facial expression through all of his years as a coach, and whether it's a head coach, assistant coach, the man only has one facial expression.
Steve
smiles.
Sterling,
That's it. It's just there, So whether he's in dead last or he's about to win his division, his facial expression never changes, But yeah, the bored is a perfect way to put it, because that's how I feel. I can get myself up to angry when I think about the disconnect between the team on the ice and the fan base and what they keep saying. We use the word gaslighting, I think, last episode or the episode before, and we got a perfect example of it. We'll talk about it in a minute. But like the excitement thing that you just brought up is a perfect example of the disconnect, because I think that they think that the fans are getting up for these games and they want to see us come out and win and win at home for the home fans. But then you go out and lay an egg a night later, or you fall flat on your face in a game that you should, by all means, should probably just win with a little bit of effort. What are we supposed to take away from this, other than the fact that you guys just can't put 2 wins together consistently over the course of a season? And I just don't get how, I don't understand how they think about this season. And like you said, there's no emotion. There's nobody's angry. We saw Erik Karlsson get angrier on Saturday night after Anders Lee picked his pocket and scored an empty net goal to make the score 6-3 than we have seen from any Islander in any one of these losses at all during the course of the season. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, it was funny to see Karlsson get mad about it, but at least he's mad, right? At least he's showing some sort of emotion.
I think the only, I could think of 2 instances of people having any sort of emotion this season. Bo Horvat, when he got off the Schneid, and that was, happiness and everyone's so excited. And then when Isaiah George scored, and that was the same thing, right? It's
which
like
we talked about,
happy emotion, right? So those are the only 2 that I can think of, and they were both on the other side. And this is a little hypocritical because we like to, poke fun at when, on Kipper and Bourne or whatever, 32 Thoughts, they see a player in Connor Garland. He really loves to win. I don't have a problem with him smashing his stick against the crossbar there, young Bukauskas, because he really wants to win. Like, once I so much of that is performative, and I get that. Yeah. But the Islanders are at a point now that if someone actually does it, it's not performative, because it's so out of character for one of these guys to color outside the lines with their emotions, that it would actually maybe mean something to you as a fan. And I'm not talking about like when Anders Lee fought that guy in the Devils and had his mouth bloodied or whatever, and then ironically the Islanders blew that game 20 seconds later in regulation. But and not that kind of emotion. I'm talking about, hey, Noah Dobson just turned the puck over on the power play and someone went the other way and scored, instead of just veering off to the right or to the left and getting ready for the next face off. Dude, you fucked up. You can show some sort of anger or something, and they don't do it. We're back to the Islanders just being in their own, this season looks pointless to me. It looks pointless, which is not where I want to be as a fan, because you're just in this weird holding pattern. The season, for all intents and purposes, is over right now. It can be rescued. There's plenty of time left if the Islanders want to rip 11 an 11-2-1 stretch. They're going to be in a playoff spot in comfortably, just because of the way the Eastern Conference is. But they can't even rip a 2-0 stretch. Right. They can't. That's that. I was texting, kind of tongue in cheek after the game on Saturday, okay, win tomorrow, and then we can have a conversation about the season being back on. And it even took effort just to say that, because I know that just because the Islanders did something good the night before, played well the night before, or had a good shift, means nothing. Think about how many times it happened tonight. Think about how many times the penalty kill will get through the first minute, and you're like, wow, this is a decent kill, and Butch Goring will be like, the Islanders doing a good job keeping them to the outside, and then next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. Or
with 2 seconds left, it's in the back of the net. Yeah.
Marcus Hogberg made a great save tonight on that penalty kill, right? That was on that penalty kill that they ended up scoring, and you're like, wow, that's the type of save that if it happened against the Islanders and the Islanders were up 2-0, the announcer would go, remember that save? And you're like, well, I do, because I know exactly where this game is heading. It's heading 3-2 other team in regulation, because of they're going to pick up their teammate there. But that doesn't happen here. It doesn't. It's very Yeah, it's really just a malaise, and man, I'd like it to stop. I wish to get off the ride if possible.
Yeah, no, boring. I think you had it right. It is boring, and not in the way that the Island. We've said this before too. The Islanders were called boring for years when they weren't boring. What they were was a team that just wouldn't let your team's best players do anything. And if you're watching for that, yeah, you're going to be bored. But to us, it was never boring. Like, they were winning. Why would that be boring?
Yeah,
Now they're just boring.
If they lost this game 3-2, even in
Right.
the way they lost it, but they were in it and they were fighting and they were hunting in packs and they were putting
tight,
guys into the boards. Yeah, like you'd be like, yeah, that's not boring. They just they can't. That's what the Islanders do. They try to take your will and whatever, and they don't even do that. They don't even. They're not physical anymore either.
No.
They are not physical. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just real quick shout out to the Isles House podcast. I listened to their episode a while back. I think it was the one that was before Christmas, I think. I'm not even sure. And Ethan, who we've had on Weird Islanders, brought up a good point. This team has no identity. Like, what are they? They're just, I think we've talked about this too. Like, they're not the defensive team that they used to be, although Luke Fox thinks that they're a lockdown defensive team still. So I guess news travels slow up there when you're not about the Leafs. We could talk about him a little bit later. But they don't play like that anymore. They're obviously not like a run and gun offensive team anymore. They're not like, a sort of a classic neutral zone trap, clog up the middle of the ice type of team or in counterattack. They don't do that either. They're not even like the Rangers, who just let their goalie stop everything, and then maybe they get a bounce here or there, although obviously it's not working for them either. The Rangers are power play merchants that don't score in the power play anymore, and their goalie is giving up goals. So, like, whatever they're doing isn't working, but for a long time it worked for them. They have no style. Their style is they win a game and then they will lose the next. They win one game a week. They will put in a good performance and then immediately follow it up with a bad performance. They cannot score in the power play. They cannot kill a penalty, and they do the same things over and over and over again with absolutely no repercussions or consequences or emotions at all. Like, that's what they are, which is awful.
And we spoke about this last year too with Lambert. We're like, there's just we have no idea what it was, and then Watt comes in, and it seemed like the identity was there, starting to build. I remember even Matt Barzal had like a very very Luke Fox jukeboxing. He went Matt Barzal Master Barzal theater on us, like saying he's like teaching us the blueprint to become champions, or something like that. That was like the quote from Barzal. And but basically it was, hey, we're just going to be really aggressive. We're going to be a tough team to play against. We're going to make it hell to play against us. And there were times when it looked good. Hell, when they played the Carolina Hurricanes in that playoff series, game 1, the Islanders were really good. They were really good. And they probably were unlucky not to be ahead in that series 1-0. Game 3, they weren't terrible either. Like, it's just a couple of, whatever. That Sorokin wasn't great that game. But and down the stretch, they were really good. They just were an aggressive team playing this man-to-man style, and they were the defensemen knew when to take chances and when not to. And it seems like everybody went to when the Islanders went to Ryan Pollock's wedding in the in the summer, they sat around the table and they all just decided, let's just take it easy this year, like let's just come on. This is so much better, right? We're all really rich dudes. We're in Italy, like this is great. Yeah. And I know that's unfair to say, because some of the players have been awesome, and Lee's been really good. I think Bo Horvat's been really good this season for the most part. Isaiah George, of course, has been really good. Siplikov, like there's been good things, but the heart, you used to like feel the heartbeat of the Islanders. It used to like you could feel it like pulsed throughout a game, and now it's not there. It's just not there at all. And as we've talked so much about, and the losing has consequences, as both for the player, for the coach, for the GM, and for the fan base. And for the fan base, the consequences, like, it becomes less fun. Obvious. It sounds an obvious thing to say, but it becomes a lot less fun to be a fan when you are not in contention, when your team isn't vying for a playoff spot in February, March. And because the discourse then turns from hey, we got to, like, can we win this game coming up? Huge 4-point swing against the Flyers. Got to win that one, whatever, to, do we even want to win this game?
Mhm.
You know? And those conversations and that inner conflict sucks. And I just don't want to head down that way.
Yeah.
And it sucks for a lot of reasons. And one of them is nothing in hockey is linear. So just because, like, the Islanders, let's say they end up going into the shitter here fully, and they have to deal Nelson and Palmieri and other guys, whatever, and they do collect all these assets. There's no guarantee that works at all.
Yeah.
It could, or it could not. And everyone's now talking about, oh, the Islanders just need to copy the Washington Capital model, which is like, okay,
Right.
win a Stanley Cup a few years ago, like have Alex Ovechkin for 15 years, and,
right. Yeah.
and like have like a really successful era, and then have two guys who make like $15 million and put them on LTIR so you can have a huge salary cap advantage. Go get Pierre-Luc Dubois in a trade that everybody panned in the summer. Like, oh my God, the Capitals are crazy for doing that. Like,
that is not a replicatable plan.
No,
the same with the Rangers quote unquote rebuild is not a replicatable rebuild. It just isn't.
Because everyone calls it a copycat league. The worst thing you can do is try to be like, oh well, it worked for the Oilers and the Avalanche to tear it down. Yeah, it did, because they got Connor McDavid and they got Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and those guys. Like, and so like you hear all these conversations of people, and this is just fan behavior. So I'm not saying it's wrong or anything, but like, people put it, step one, do this. Like that. I don't want to have those conversations in February. I want to talk about the Islanders game that's coming up on February 26th. Is a huge game, and it looks like these guys, because they're not even playing like assholes anymore, which is I don't maybe you disagree with me. I don't think they're playing like assholes. They are just playing like they don't want to be there, which I don't know what the term for that is.
I mean, that's a variation on the assholes.
Yeah, it's like they're playing like they'd rather be anywhere else in the world than skating around against Sidney Crosby. But like, I'd rather be talking about the Islanders games on those, in the middle of winter, because February is 8 months from October. And if the Islanders do truly want, if everyone thinks you got to tear it down or whatever, and February is 37 months from the next important October. And it's just, I don't want to be thinking about this stuff, because the Islanders just lost 2 out of 3 in a week, but they've played us into this corner.
Right. Well, because they lose 2 out of 3 every week.
Every week.
Like, that's the thing. It's every week they lose 2 out of 3. And you can't, that's not how you make a playoff run. That's not how you build a successful season. And this week again was the same. And yeah, I mean, I would still consider be playing like assholes. Like, I thought that too. I thought that today, that they were playing like assholes, but it's really more just like a sloppy, stupid thing. And again, to your point about being bored, we've seen this game before. We saw tonight's game before. We've seen every one of these games before, whether it's a huge letdown like Monday's game was, or the rebound game like Saturday's game was. We've seen this, and like, we know that they can play games. Even on Saturday, they kind of, it wasn't perfect, but they played better than the Penguins did. They were the better team and they deserved to win. But this team just, I don't know if it's necessarily that they don't want to be here. I just don't think they have any desire to win any games. Like, that's it to me. I just don't think they care about the outcome of the game.
It's so weird. It's like, because it's not even like an effort thing or anything.
Right.
It's just like, it's everything is an it's almost like intramurals when you're in like second or third grade.
Exactly.
The score doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't matter at all.
You're with your friends.
Right. Or like, when I played Mario Kart with my daughter and she was little and I wasn't trying to win, and it's just like, just go out and have fun. It's okay. Like, we're just, it's a video game. It's fun. These guys, they don't seem to care about whether or not they win any games. And then, and this is where we might as well get into the other games. We might as well just start with the Buffalo game and get over with. By the way, we're on Patreon, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. Membership gets you ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, and a whole lot more. So sign up today, patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety. We might as well start with the Buffalo game, because it was 7-1. I'm not going to go through all this. You all know by now, the Sabres were winless in 13 games. We talked about how terrifying that game was on Sunday, but we were confident, I think, that the Islanders could, I shouldn't say that. We said if the Islanders came out after beating the pants off the Leafs on Saturday, if they came out on Monday and just stomped on the Sabres the way they could and should, and picked up 2 wins in a row and really showed the killer instinct they haven't had at all in this season or last season, frankly, then maybe that would portend good things for the second half of the season. Well, what did they do? They lost 7-1. And I mean, I don't even need to get into this. Like, Duclair made it 5-1 at the end of the second to silence the boos for a few minutes, but they were getting booed off the ice after both periods, and they deserved it because they stunk. They absolutely stunk on the ice in this game. Sorokin was pulled with 12 minutes left. Tage Thompson makes it 6-1. Some guy named Yuri Kulich split the defense and makes it 7-1. They're like literally stunting on the Islanders at this point, a team that had not won in 13 games. That was December 23rd. The Sabres hadn't won since November 23rd. That was the last time they won, was literally a month earlier. And so this terrible thing happens. It's embarrassing. I'm seeing people saying like, wait, the Sabres beat who? By how much? It had to be one of the most embarrassing moments of this or any other season. And what does the coach say afterwards? I didn't think we played that bad. I didn't think we played as bad as the score said. And that's when I was like, you know what, man, go to hell. Like, you cannot come out after a game in which you lose 7-1 to a team that was winless in 13 games after your team has not won 2 games in a row more than twice this entire season, and say, I didn't think we played that bad. You cannot do that. You can't. And our coach did that. And that was just unforgivable to me. I can't even begin to describe how mad I was that night, and then probably most of the next day until it was Christmas finally, at least. But I was stunned that this is what, and this is where we get to what I was saying before. It doesn't seem like it matters. Like, oh, well, we thought we played okay. We had, one more high danger chance than them and a couple extra shots. So I thought we played okay. Dude, you lost. What is the point of this if you're going to lose? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the game. And then I couldn't believe I had to listen to this coach fucking say that he didn't think that they played that bad. And this is where the toxic positivity comes in again. My therapist, by the way, was very pleased with me that I used the word toxic positivity on our hockey podcast. I was very impressed. But yeah, this is, I mean, there have been a lot of embarrassing moments this season, but this one's going to be really hard to live down. Of course, they won't live it down because they lost today, but we'll get into it. I don't know. What do you have to say about this? Because
we're not even talking about the season. I think that was as kind of sickened as I was about caring about the Islanders as much as I do in years. Truly. Like, I couldn't believe that. I could believe 1,000% could believe that the Islanders were going to lose that game. And everyone did. Everybody knew the Islanders were going to lose that game.
We talked about too how scary it was. Yeah.
What I couldn't believe was exactly what you're saying. Like, you just had a good game in Toronto. You have been in this exact situation where we talk about the 82-game playoff for 2 seasons in a row. And you know that just because it's December 23rd and the holiday freeze is coming doesn't mean that you can just fold up the tents and go home early because it's December. We'll make up for this again in March when the Flyers come to town. Maybe we'll win that game instead and start the playoff push. Like, you are so well versed in this exact season. It's happening for the 3rd time. This is the worst version of it, but it's happening again. It's really the 4th time, because when you think about that COVID year, when everything that could go wrong did go wrong, like, the Islanders needed to make hay starting from basically this point of the season. They needed to rip a crazy pace to make it interesting. So this is now the 4th season in a row where they've had these really important must-win games this early, and they don't even throw up a clunker. This was a historically bad performance from the Islanders. So much so that I was kind of hoping that they were going to be booed onto the ice on Saturday.
Me too. I thought that too.
Boo them on. Let's make that the thing now that, hey, we don't forget what you did on. And even honestly, I was kind of hoping the fans would just boo them throughout the entire game against the Penguins, even if they won, because that game that they win ended up making me more mad about the Sabres game because, hey, just win that one too. You can beat the goddamn Sabres. They lost 13 in a row before that. And instead, you no-show, go lose 7-1, and that game was over in 30 seconds. The Islanders, maybe there are other teams like this, but I cannot think of them. The puck drops, and you can tell from the first shift of a game whether or not the Islanders are interested in, like you said, do they care about the final score tonight? That team won. Maybe it's because there's so many kids, like they just all have so many kids as a team, and they're just got to get home and get build toys, all that kind of stuff. Holidays, want to get home. Maybe that's what their mind was somewhere else. Yeah, you could do that if you're the New Jersey Devils or the Vegas Golden Knights, where you're 20 points clear of the playoff zone. You're the Islanders. You're 3 points behind the goddamn Senators. You can't afford to do that. You lost that privilege by losing, 8 third period leads that you had this season. So, at a night, as I said, that game felt like it came out of my subconscious. The classic nightmare about the Islanders game. Wake up and be like, God damn it. Can't believe they played like that. Can't believe 2 Tigers were on the ice and devoured Brock Nelson. I'm gonna really miss that guy performance. I can't even, I just don't ever want to think about that game again, but I will think about that game for the rest of my life, because the next time the Islanders are in a situation like that where they've got a wounded animal coming to UBS Arena and they need the win, my first thought is going to be, man, remember that time that the Sabres kicked the field goal or kicked the extra point against the Islanders in this situation?
Right.
And we joked. What did we joked in our group chat, right? As that game ended, I was like, yep, here comes the classic. We weren't that bad. I liked our push back. Yeah, they it was a desperate team over there. And I said that thinking that they were going to come out and be like, the players said it actually for the first time. I think Anders Lee said, we were garbage tonight, whatever. And someone else, I can't remember who else was talking, was like, that was unacceptable, especially at home. And as you said, Wah comes out and says that they weren't as bad as a final score. And I do love Patrick Waugh. I still can't get over the, I can't get past like the whole Patrick Waugh. I wish he coached in his Colorado Avalanche gear, like with the big neck guard and the mask, and he was in his goalie position too, getting set for a shot behind the bench. But my point is, like, that's the Patrick Waugh I thought we were signing up for. And this goes to Lou too.
Yeah.
Like, when Patrick Waugh was a player, if his team lost 7-1, the guy was probably getting into a fist fight with a couple of his blue liners and maybe yelling at a francophone media member who asked him if he should have made a couple more saves, and it's a different game. He's like he's getting a fine after that. If his team lost 7-1, Patrick Waugh's wallet is going to be a little lighter as a player, because he's going to do something passionate, because he's a passionate guy. He is.
Right.
Was. Or was, right. So where is that?
Yeah.
I understand his first go round as a coach, he was probably too much of that guy, and he really tried to rein it in. And it's not just him, it's Lamoriello too.
Yes.
If Lou's Devils played a team that played the New York Islanders,
right,
who were coming to Continental Airlines Arena on a 13-game losing streak with Butch Goring behind the bench and Wade Flaherty in goal, and the Islanders in their wave-crested jerseys skated all over the Devils and won 7-1. That coach was getting fired.
Right.
He'd probably trade a couple of the defensemen.
I was going to say, half of those guys would be sent to Albany before the game was over, right? They're sent. They're gone. So.
That guy, and we don't need to go into it, but if this is your first time listening to the show, as we always say, we are very thankful for all that he's done in this, in this era of Islander hockey. But the Islanders' Lou Lamoriello is not that Lou Lamoriello.
No.
And we need that Lou Lamoriello. If they are serious about saving the season, that Lou Lamoriello needs to show up to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so does the Patrick Waugh, who's telling Jeremy Roenick where to shove it, right? Like that's the guys that this team needs.
Right.
And I wonder too if like the team's thinking that as well. Maybe not as much about Lou, but as about why. Like, man, wasn't this guy like insane as a player? And he's telling us that a 7-1 loss at home to the team that just lost 13 in a row was not that bad.
So after, we'll talk about the win that followed that in a second, but after, in the post game for that, Wah was like, when we come into the room, I could tell they didn't want to hear my speech. They wanted to get back out on the ice and make up for game, the game on Monday and really show our fans that we're better than that. Okay, that's fine. How about you start by not fucking losing 7-1 in the game? Like, this is what drives me nuts. These guys act as if they have no agency in the game. They have no say in this. Like, well, we just lost, and now we got to have to come back. Even I'm just looking at the quotes from tonight's game. Horvat's like, well, we can't keep winning one, losing one. It's not going to help us gain the standings. Bo, stop losing the games then. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're the guy. Everybody's wearing the hot dog suit. We're all trying to find the guy who did this. You are the guys doing this. Nobody told you to take the first 50 minutes of tonight's game off. Right? You just said it yourself. Why is it slow? Why are they starting so slow? Why are the Sabres up 1-0 5 minutes into the game? Why are they up 2-0 at the end of the first period? Why are they up 3-0 5 minutes into the third period? Because they're blocking every shot. And Jason Zucker why is Jason Zucker still even in the league? Oh, because he's got to score against the Islanders for the Sabres. Like, you guys have you are in the games. You have a say in the outcomes of these games. You can't just pretend like somebody just gave you this and you don't want it anymore. You have a choice. You can go out there and play a game and try and win it, or you can figure skate for 50 minutes and then decide, oh, maybe we'll try and do something now. That's what you're doing. And then, like you said, we don't want to skip over Saturday's game because it was the only win in this. That's what makes Saturday's games like Saturdays and like the other Saturday's game. They only win on Saturday this year. I don't know what it is. They beat the Blues on Saturday. That game against Carolina, I think that they won was on a Saturday, maybe. They come out Saturday against, after all those 4 days off, and they play a good game. They beat the Penguins 6-3. It wasn't perfect, but it was about as normal a game as they have played in a while. Sorokin was really good. Tristan Jarry was his usual self. Again, 4 more years of this guy. That's hilarious to me. Yeah, they were 1 for 4 in the PK, but what are you going to do? They did a good job of keeping the Penguins. They gave up an awful goal just before the end of the second period to make it 4-3. And that was the point when you were like, all right, here we go. Here comes the comeback. But they played a really good third period. They kept the Penguins off the shot counter almost completely for half the period. Casey Zizekas scored his second goal of the game on a breakaway. At that point, it was, pretty much academic. They did a good job. And again, Lee with the empty net goal, just picking Carlson's pocket and making him mad and all that stuff. So that was a good game. Anthony Duclair scored a beautiful goal from Palmieri, and it was a good game. So what happened on Monday and what happened on Sunday that you could not replicate that game? That's what makes us mad. And that's why stuff like, well, we didn't think we played that badly, or we got to stop winning one and losing one, just is completely hollow.
And it wouldn't be hollow if this was October 18th and you were 4-5 and things kind of just weren't going right. But this is the 36th game of the season, 37th game of the year. And we counted through them just 2 weeks ago about the wins and losses and
right. The normal wins. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so this is a sample size. We're 37 games into a season and we're really 100 and, whatever, 200, probably 203 games into the 2022-2023 season at this point. Like you said, just go fix it. It's if you don't want to do this anymore, if you don't want to have like four minutes every other day spent with Andrew Gross and the media contingent saying, yeah, we just got to up the sense of urgency, then just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it when the game. I thought you put it perfectly.
Yeah.
You are in control of this. Like
yes.
you can, and if it's such a like cognitive dissonance or something between as a fan, because you're watching them, I'm watching the team, and you're like, do they know that they're playing a game tonight? Like, do they know do they understand what the stakes are? Because I do. I understand.
Yeah.
I know that we got a back-to-back coming with the Maple Leafs, that we're going to be underdogs about those games, and if we lose them both, we're 4 games under NHL 500. And that would mean we've won 14 of 39 games to start the season, and we'd be like a 3% chance to make the playoffs. I know that. I know that that's why losing to the Sabres was a pretty big deal, and I know that's why you got to win the games when you shut out the other team like they did against the St. Louis Blues. You might want to win that game when your goalie shuts them out in regulation. But instead, they play and they talk like, "Ah, man, yeah, no, that's a good point you made there. Like maybe we should have tried to win those ones because now that when we lose these kind of games, like those ones maybe would have been a good idea to have in our pocket. But it's it's crazy. And I'm looking at the standings too, and
I was just going to say something like this, especially this year. Like that's what makes this so. One other thing that makes this so maddening. Look at the Eastern Conference this year. You're telling me you can't win 4 games in a row and jump 5 teams? Come on,
right? Had the Islanders just had just swept this week. Let's just say, just say they beat the Sabres because they came in off that win against the Leafs. They beat the Sabres. They beat the Penguins in both games. You're talking about a team that is tied. Or that is in a wild card spot right now, and it'd be a little tricky because of games played or whatever. But basically, would be in neck and neck with for that second wild card spot, and fully in it,
right?
But because they haven't been able to do something like that, just have a gangbusters 3-game winning streak, which is crazy to say. They haven't been able to do that. They're in this position instead. And there's so much fucked up shit when you look at the numbers too.
Right. And
I'm not like, let's even go the penalty kill and the power play.
Right.
They're hopeless at this point. It's hopeless. and I want the Islanders to just stop playing with referees in their games and just talk to the other teams. They will just go 5-on-5. The other team will laugh in your face because they'll say, "Oh no, you're the Islanders. Like we need our 2 power play goals that you give to every team every night." But so they're a point behind the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have played the same amount of games as the Islanders. The Islanders have, if you look at the Blue Jackets, there is a clear trend. They've won 11 of their 18 games at home. They're 11-4-3 at home. So they've gotten points in 14 of 18 at home. Like, oh man, yeah. So the Blue Jackets, if they could just improve their play on the road, like they could be, maybe they'll be a little bit of a pest. And then you look at a team like the Penguins. It's just not a too dissimilar story. They're good at home, not as good on the road. You look at a team like the Flyers, they just can't keep the puck out of the net. Like that's their issue. The Penguins kind of the same thing. Like can't keep the puck out of the net. When you look at the Islanders numbers, it's all just I couldn't tell you. Like you have to fix everything. You have to fix it. They're not good at home. Right. They're 7-8-2 at home. They're 7-8-5 on the road. They're like what? They're second to last in the division in goals scored and third to last in the conference in goals scored, so they can't score. They're middling in terms of goal against. So it's not that like those are issues too. It's like a widespread. It's like endemic at this point. Right. Like they need to fix so much. And even the win. Like I don't want to rain on the parade of a win. Islanders go up 1-0 for the second time because they had a goal called back. But they go up 1-0 and they're playing pretty well. And Casey Cizikas, who ends up having his best game of the season, but he takes a penalty 15 seconds after they go ahead.
Yep.
And you're Casey Cizikas. You're on the penalty kill that is historically bad. So you can't ever take a penalty, and you can never, ever, ever take a penalty in that exact situation. Yes, he did make up for it. Full marks to Casey for that game. He played really well. And then the second period, they try so hard to blow the lead before that period's even over. I know the Penguins scored with like 20 seconds left. Yeah. But there were chances for the Penguins to score in the last like 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. And you are the team that has blown all these leads all season. You're up 4-1. You cannot take your foot off the pedal. Yeah. And that's what they're like, surely it can't happen again, right? Like, it can't happen again. It can happen again because you're the team that it happens again to. That is, you want the they were talking the Isles House people talking about not having an identity. They have an identity. They do. It's this. This is the identity. They're a joke. They're a joke right now. Like, they can't be trusted. Maybe that's their identity.
Yeah.
Like, you can't trust them up 4-1 against the Penguins coming out of a break. You can't trust them to win the next game. You can't trust them to build off a win. You can't trust them to do stuff that you just, if you just do that, like if the Islanders cleared the lowest of these bars, maybe if they're 26th in the league in penalty kill or 26th in the league in power play, they're in the playoffs right now.
Yeah. But again, not only do they have all these problems to fix, nobody seems all that interested in fixing them.
Yeah.
Like, you have had the worst power play and penalty kill all season. Nothing has changed. Not a single thing has changed about it.
It was historically bad the year before.
Right. It's worse. It is worse. Nothing has changed. It's the same guys doing the same thing over and over again. You brought in a whole new coach to coach your penalty kill because it was so bad this year, and now it's even worse. What are we doing? It's just, it doesn't make, and you're 100% right. Like, there's so much bad across the entire, landscape of this team, and yet somehow there's still a 3-game winning streak from being in a wild card spot. Like, that's the way this Eastern Conference is shook out this season. That spot might not be there tomorrow or next week. So you can't play this game of like, we got to stop doing these things. Yeah, stop doing them. Just stop. This team, I don't know where, again, and I feel like I said this in last week, and if I did, I apologize for being in reruns, but like, we are told consistently that professional athletes are the most competitive people on earth. Guys who will fight you tooth and nail over a poker game and a bus, or, guys who are fighting over who's roommate on the road and stuff like that. They play soccer before the games and they get really competitive. I mean, we saw this team have a ping pong tournament while in the bubble, and they took it really seriously, but they had a lot of fun with it. This team has none of those guys. Nobody on this team is a frothing at the mouth, insane competitive person, because if they were, this would be driving them absolutely bonkers. And if it is, we have no idea. And it's just, it's driving us bonkers, and I'm not even that competitive. Like, I just want my team to win consistently. And you said it before, even if they lost this game, and now we might as well talk about tonight's game, 3-2 loss to the Penguins in Pittsburgh. Marcus Hogberg got the start, and he was terrific. Like, nothing about this was on Marcus Hogberg. He was great. He had a lunging save on Brian Rust late in the game. But again, they did absolutely nothing for the first 50 minutes until they started to pull Sorokin, and then they start scoring goals. Lee apparently tipped a Romanov shot and in. Then Horvat gets a shot in. It goes off Nedeljkovic's blocker, off Ryan Graves' calf, and into the goal. And all of a sudden it's 3-2. They couldn't get the equalizer with the goalie pulled. So is this going to be their identity now? The team that scores goals while their goalie is pulled? Like, the goalie who's making $8 million a year? Come on. What are we, like, this team doesn't make any sense, and nobody wants to fix it. Not a single person is going to stand up and say, why can't we just play a normal game? I just don't get it. It's maddening. And again, like you said, there are two guys at the helm here whose whole thing is how competitive and cutthroat they have been for their entire successful championship careers. Where are those guys? Because that's not these guys. These guys are I thought we played okay guys. Or, we'll make a change if we feel it improves our team and makes us better. Okay. How about improving your penalty kill?
It takes two.
Right.
Two parties.
So even if they had lost this game, just to finish my thought, even if they had lost this game, like you said, a tight back and forth, maybe it's 1-1, then it's 2-2, Penguins go up 3-2, the Island, they start making chances and, playing well towards the end with, the goalie pulled, but they can't get the equalizer. Hey, what are you going to do? Sometimes you just lose. Okay. That's one thing. But like, even in this season, that wouldn't have been enough. Like, at least had they done that, I would have been like, all right, what are you going to do? But like,
you'd be sad.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be apoplectic about it. Like, but I'm at a loss.
Right.
About what I want my relationship to be with the Islanders right now for the rest of the year. Because what good is going to come out of getting geeked up for the game on Tuesday afternoon in Toronto? Like, what even if they win, oh, great. Now they got to go do it again, which has been their kryptonite.
Right.
Doing good things twice.
They're
That's
more
been their
likely to
kryptonite.
win the game in Toronto than they are to win the one at UBS Arena. 100%.
And they're, this feels like the beginning of a spiral here. Like it really does. And maybe it's been a long time coming, and we've tried our best to remain positive, and who knows if it's a good thing or a bad thing if this team just goes nosedives, but it won't be fun while it's happening. It really does. It feels like this is the beginning of a spiral because they've now lost 4 of 6 and I believe 5 of 8. The Islanders have since that Senators game. And since they won 2 the last time they won 2 in a row, when they beat the Hurricanes and the Senators on back-to-back nights.
Right.
They've lost 5 of 8. And I think that number is going to go to 7 of 10, right? And then you're talking, okay, we're truly in a spiral here. This team is sinking to the bottom because they're just, not only are they not, does it not look like they care, but they're not playing particularly well. There's nothing compelling about the way that they're playing. I don't think they. Like they're fully healthy now too, so that excuse is out the window. Matt Barzal. I thought the power play has actually looked decent, like the past 2 nights with Barzal kind of running the show on the half wall, but they haven't been able to score on it. So you once again you've lost the privilege of being like, we just didn't execute. No, you haven't executed in 3 years on the power play. So you can't just lean on that crutch. I think this is about to spiral, and then you're looking at an entire stretch of 4 months where you just don't want to watch Islander games. I don't want to watch them,
right.
and know that it's probably better for them overall to win. And it's so annoying, man. It's just they're a thorn in my. This is the team I root for, right?
Yeah,
this is the team I root for, and they are thorn in my side right now.
I mean, the tone of this episode is a 180-degree turn from the tone of the last episode, where they did lose the one previous game, and then they lost the 2 previous games, and then they beat the Leafs in a convincing fashion, a fantastic game, and we were effervescent, and we thought, okay, forget about those other 2 losses, both terrible, but now you've made up for it. Now let's start something, and then they've done it again. Only this time the exact opposite. They won 1, but then they lost 2 games in embarrassing fashion, and it just makes us more mad. And I can't. You said it right off the top. We're bored. The joke isn't funny anymore, and this needs to be fixed. And if it's not, I don't want to watch the next 50 games of this.
Right.
I just don't.
And not even it. Like even I'm not saying I want to wake up tomorrow and see like a 6-player blockbuster, because that's not just how the world works. But I would like someone to just say, we're considering changing directions, or I don't know whatever it takes. Like, just do something. We joke all the time about how 32 Thoughts and other hockey insiders who are basically just PR for players, agents, and general managers,
or professional liars, as we've decided.
Yeah, professional liars, right? The professional liars come on and they say that this GM is trying to calm the waters. The GM of the Rangers, the guy who traded the captain, traded Capo Caco, sent out, as Larry Brooks likes to call it, a Substack to the other 32 general managers, and then leaked that information. The guy who did the Barkley, he just wants the dust to settle in the room, and he wants to see how this group responds. He's trying to keep things calm. The Islanders' waters have been so fucking calm for so long. I want the opposite to happen. And this once again goes against so much of what I've said, where I like being the team with the cone of silence, and in situations like with Drury and the Rangers, and what we saw with the Senators last year, and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I want that. But now the situation calls for the Islanders to set a fire somewhere. And waving Oliver Wahlstrom, who's I I would put money. I'd lay odds, like I'd lay juice that Oliver Wahlstrom is back in the Islanders system in like the next week and a half, because the Bruins already scratched him. They're
Yeah.
going. Next thing is he's going to go back on waivers, and every team's going to say, "Oh man, yeah, he obviously didn't click with another team, so the change of scenery thing isn't a true thing." And then the Islanders, of course, they can put in the claim, and if they do, and nobody else claims him, then they can send him down without waivers anymore, however it works. But there's like some advantageous thing if you reclaim a player, right? So
Right.
he's going to be back anyways. So like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. Like giving this team a kick in the ass. This team hasn't had a kick in the ass
Right.
since their old captain left.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. Like they haven't.
Yeah.
The Murphys last season, they didn't have a kick in the ass. They
No.
held completely tight at the trade deadline.
Right. Well, I think they just figured it was a Murphy's Law season. And
Yeah,
they were just
and-
like, wow, the hell with it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. They didn't do shit. And like you want to say the Josh Bailey trade was a kick in the ass? I don't even think that is. Like that happened in June or July. This team hasn't had its boat rocked in the middle of a season in years and years and years. And I think that someone like Matt Barzal or Bo Horvat must be like, man, it's so fucking weird on this team, because when I played for that team in Vancouver, every night I went to bed and somebody on the radio was talking about whether or not like so-and-so was going to get traded or fired the next day. And on this team, I'm just getting text messages about, who's bringing the kids to Iceworks for Junior Islanders practice tomorrow. Like, it's very different here when we lose 7-1 than it was in Vancouver. We need a touch of it. We do. Right. I'm wrong. Like the cone of silence thing needs to break for a little bit. The Islanders need someone needs to take a baseball bat to a television in that locker room or something.
Well,
fast.
Yeah, no, there's a difference. I don't think you're wrong, and I don't think you're being hypocritical at all. I think there's a difference between the cone of silence and admitting that your team has problems and needs to fix stuff, or else your season is going to go by the wayside. That's what we're asking for. We're not asking for the full, dumpster fire like they have over at the Rangers right now, or what the Senators were before Steve Stamkos calmed the waters, Jeff. But like, they need to do something, and they need to acknowledge what we are seeing, which is that this team cannot continue to exist the way that it has. Something needs to get fixed. Bo Horvat, like I said, is already doing like, well, we can't win one and lose one. Okay, well then somebody's going to have to go out and fix it. You guys are on the ice. You have the ability to do that. We've seen you do it in the last week. We saw you do it last night. You fixed it. It worked. Whatever you did worked. It was fine. Why couldn't you do it the next night? Why can't you do it again two nights later, like you did with the Leafs and the Sabres? I don't understand. That's what drives us nuts. You're the guys who are being inconsistent. People aren't just giving you these results, and you just have to be like, I don't understand what's going on here. You are the guys in charge. But even if the players, let's say, aren't good enough, let's just say the team isn't good enough, then it's on management and coaching to fix it and get people that are. I'm not saying Bridgeport is even worse than the Islanders, so calling anybody up from there is not going to go, but like, something can be done. And then that's where the owner comes in and it's like, this is where we are stuck. The team is not not good. People are not coming to the games. They're not happy, and we're going to lose money, and we can't do that. This team, in a little over a year from now, so I guess, whatever, late January of 2026, will be hosting an all-star game. Think about that. This team right now, the one that lost tonight to the Penguins in a game in which they did not play for the first 50 minutes of the game, is going to be hosting an all-star game. If they continue to play like this, with this one game, one win here, a couple of losses, first of all, we're all going to be completely mental by the end of it, number one. Number two, that's the NHL's showcase team for this all-star game, is going to be this team that doesn't seem to give a shit about winning games. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, but at least they got a nice fancy hotel outside the nice fancy new arena. Like, you can't do that. Somebody's got to step up and be like, this isn't good enough. We got to fix it. That's all I'm saying.
And so, I don't have any, and I try so hard to stay out of, conversations about they should do this, like trade for this guy,
right?
That, because if this era has taught us anything, it's nothing. None of that's going to happen. The Islanders they're not
right.
going to, do the thing that makes logical sense or anything like that, right? The the moves that they make have been quiet. They trade for Pierre Engvall. They trade for Alex Romanov. Those kind of like little bit part moves. And they don't do them during the season ever. They don't. They do them maybe at the trade deadline, but definitely not during the season. They haven't had anything like that. And we haven't even heard from, you want to talk about the guys above Lamoriello. We haven't heard from those guys.
Not at all.
I think the last time we did was when John Ledecky someone saw him on like a sidewalk in Levittown. It was like, are you considering like moving on from Lou? And he's like, he's won the Jim Gregg General Manager of the Year award two of the last 3 years. Why would I ever do that? And that was after the Islanders didn't sign like Naz Kadri or something. So that was years and years ago at this point. Because I don't know if the team is really a priority. Like, you talk about the players not really caring if they seem, or I shouldn't say that. You talking about the players looking and the games playing out as if the team doesn't care about the score. Like, they're just there to play hockey, and goals happen. They don't mean anything. It just is part of their job. The ownership feels the same way at this point. It does. It feels like, the Islanders are there so that we can build a hotel and put a Rolex store under the Cross Island Parkway. Like, that's why that's why we own the Islanders. We don't own the Islanders because we want them to win. Right. We own the Islanders because we needed to have the Islanders so we can get this parcel of land next to the Cross Island Parkway, so that you can come buy your Lululemon gear, like from all parts of Nassau County. Right. So that's there. Then like you said, with Lou and the coach, and I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to give Kyle fucking Dubas credit. That's how much this season has driven me up a goddamn cliff. Like, the Penguins stunk for the first month and a half of the season. They stunk. And instead of just being like, what are you going to do? Like, we, as you said, like the guy in the hot dog suit, we're all trying to figure out the guy who did this. Dubas, he started to tinker. Like, he traded for that guy, Philip Tomasino.
He scored tonight.
He scored tonight. He traded for, I think he made another little move on depth. They got P.O. Joseph back because they had an injury on defense. Like, they were at least active in trying to plug holes. The Islanders have had holes all season long that you could easily fix. Like, you can go get someone who's on the Sharks who maybe isn't, like, it's Luke Kunin. Let's just say it's Luke Kunin. Don't know how much money he makes, what his stat line is, or even if he kills penalties. But let's pretend that Luke Kunin is on the Sharks penalty kill and it's 11th in the league. You could probably call Mike Greer and be like, can we just give you a 6th round pick and have this guy, Luke Kunin, play for the Islanders because we need to do something? And he'd say, hell yeah, of course. Like, I don't want Luke Kunin on my team. He's too good. Like, I need to get this guy off so I can call up one of the kids or the bad guys and we can keep losing. Right. Like, do stuff like that. You could, that's not crazy. Right. You could get guys like that in, that all of a sudden Hudson Fashion looks over his shoulder and goes, I wonder if Luke Kunin is here to take my job. And everyone's like, yeah, he is. Or Oliver Wahlstrom's like, oh my God. Yeah, I wonder if Luke Kunin's here to take my job. And everyone says, yeah, because you haven't done shit this season. Like, that's how this works. That's how professional sports work. Luke Kunin comes, he gets a chance. And then if he can't perform, guess what? You get the chance back. The only guy who has had that happen to him this year has been Pierre Engvall. Right. He's the only guy who has been held accountable for anything. And the people taking his spot are Hudson Fashion. Like, it's, I want someone to punch me in the face instead of watching this team.
Do you know? I know this first half is going long, but that's okay. Do you know right now what team currently has the best penalty killing in the NHL?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we saw them. They made the Islanders power. They ate the Islanders power play for lunch. The Chicago Blackhawks. Go get those penalty killers.
Okay. You're right. Currently, at the time, the Blackhawks were the best penalty killing team in the league, which again makes no sense. And I'm sure Kyle Davidson would be happy to trade any of his penalty killers to anywhere for anything. Right now, as we speak, as of right now, 9:40 on Sunday, the number one penalty killing team in the NHL are the Nashville Predators, who are also not going anywhere and who are also run by a guy who used to coach the Islanders. I'm sure Barry Trotz would be happy to trade one of his penalty killers to the Islanders for some pick or something. Like, there are changes that can be made. Again, like what? Yeah, okay, fine. Trading Anders Lee is hard because he's making $7 million. But like, what has Kyle McLean done to warrant never getting scratched? You know, like, or any of these guys. Again, Casey Cizikas is a great Islander. We've loved him, but like, maybe it's time that he moves on, because this season, he was great on Saturday, but like, this season has not been good for him. Why is Hudson Fasching still doing this thing? Like, changes can be made, and they just aren't going to be. And that's what drives us nuts. And I had this fantasy. You had the fantasy of them getting booed. I had that too. I had a fantasy of waking up on Christmas morning and finding that people had been fired because they couldn't trade anybody. But it didn't happen. Now I'm hoping that maybe
the Red Wings finally fired Derek Lalonde and brought in Todd McClellan, and I don't even.
They played great tonight. They won tonight.
I don't even think that this team is crying out for that sort of change. Like I don't think that the Islanders are crying out for that. And I know that they've made the big trade in the season, like they made the Horvat trade and whatever, in the middle of the season. But that's not what I'm talking about. Like not that level of trade. They haven't tinkered around the edges in so long where they can. You know when the last time they did actually, and it worked. It was Mike Riley and Robert Bortuzzo. Like they got those guys. They came in and they did a job, and they all of a sudden Grant Hutton wasn't playing anymore, right? Like that was helpful to the team. Right. It was helpful. Like I'm not saying go trade a first, Anthony Beauvillier and Atu Ratu and go get Bo Horvat, but go get somebody who all of a sudden
can help.
He can help kill. He can get in front of a shot on a power play, or he can come in and get the puck deep rather than what Hudson Fasching is doing when he gets to the blue line. Like, please just. If you're going to go down this road, make it worth our time. Like make it worth our time by trying. Yeah. It doesn't seem like, and it's not even, I'm not saying like trying and working hard, but throw something at it. Throw something at the wall and see if it works. Because that's the only way that this is going to get better is if something new comes in that door and sends a shiver up the spine of the guys who have been here forever and are like, no, I'm an Islander. Of course I'm going to play here forever, even though I played 15 games. I'm -5 and I haven't. Hudson Fasching doesn't have a point this year, and I don't even need to pile on Hudson Fasching. But if you take Fasching and Martin together, they've played 35 games combined. They've got 1 point, and they're -7. You want to we could throw Kyle McLean in that mix if you want as well. Like he's got, and I think he's been okay the past few games, but he's got 5 points. Cizikas has 4 points. So the guys who are
that he got 2 in the last game.
Yeah. the guys who are like forwards 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 this year are, because you could throw Wallstrom and whoever else in there too. Like they've done absolutely nothing. And those are the guys that you can fit. Like you can easily go out and go get somebody who can do that job better, or at the very least force those guys to feel some pressure on them that they need to do better. But the Islanders just haven't done that in so long. Yeah.
Maybe I got the wrong internet meme, and I'll say this and then we'll take our break. Maybe I got the internet meme wrong. Maybe it's not so much that we're all trying to find the guy who did this. I think you should leave meme. It's an older meme from an older show of The Simpsons, which is from the I think it's the Malibu Stacy episode where they go, "We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas." Like that's exactly what the Islanders are. They've tried nothing, but they're all out of ideas. Like we haven't done anything except for send Pierre Engvall down and scratch him. But other than that, we don't know what else to do. Well, this is why you guys can't win more than 2 games in a row. So there you go. All right, we're going to take a break. I'm going to get a drink of water, and we're going to come back and look at the next couple of games on tap. And then we're going to go through some of our more listened to episodes this season. So join us on the other side. Thanks. And now a word from our sponsors. First is always VintageIceHockey.com, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, jerseys, and more featuring over 100 classic hockey logos. Vintage Ice Hockey now carries a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch featuring our blue and orange brain logo, as well as our Al Arbor and the Island shirts. And as always, our portion of the sales go directly to the Center for Dementia Research. That is VintageIceHockey.com.
Try wines from the Pinot Project. They offer a rosé, a Pinot Grigio, and a Pinot Noir that was named a top 100 best buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. All are delicious, priced at less than $15 a bottle, and available at local wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. Please drink responsibly.
Okay, so the Islanders have 3 games coming up this week. 2 of them are once again against the Maple Leafs, who they beat a couple of weeks ago, if you haven't already heard. The 31st on New Year's Eve, the Islanders will be playing them at 1 o'clock. That's an MSG SN game. But then on Thursday, they're playing the Leafs again at 7:30. That one's at UBS Arena, and that's an ESPN Plus / Hulu game. So be prepared for that. And then on Sunday, they play the Bruins at 6 o'clock. We're actually going to record our next episode next Monday on the 6th, and then we're going to put it out. So that'll come out on Tuesday because that game's just a little bit too late. Yeah, so 2 games against the Leafs, 1 against the Bruins. None of them should be particularly easy, but if we've learned anything from the Islanders, it's that they'll win one and then lose the other 2. So of these 3 games, which one do you think the Islanders are most likely to win? The game in Toronto, the game at home against Toronto, or the game in Boston?
My prediction for this week is that they don't win any of them. I would say the most likely one is maybe the afternoon game in Toronto because they've done some funny shit up there the past few seasons, like Pierre Engvall scoring the game-winning goal.
Oh right,
in that one game. But I truly do not think the Islanders are going to win any of these games. I think that this week is when we talk on Monday after that Bruins game.
Yeah.
It's going to be the conversation, the first of weeks and weeks of being like, like, well, what's the plan now? We got to do something to pass the time until October.
Right.
And I'm not looking forward to it. And perhaps that's why we were a little more optimistic after that game against the Leafs last week, and you got the Sabres on deck, and you're thinking, all right, that might have been our last chance to be optimistic about the season. Earnestly, because you're just grasping at water, like trying to catch a knife or whatever the cliche is, trying to catch water with a knife. I don't know, but if you're trying to be optimistic about this season right now, I don't think any Islander fan in their right mind is like, they're still in this thing, because they're not as time as we currently stand, and I think they're going to be more not in this thing when we talk next, and that sucks. I'm not excited for these games at all.
Yeah.
I would be excited for the Bruins game if they win these next 2, but I would find that to be a miracle if they sweep if they just sweep the Leafs again this season. So it's a bit of a reckoning point. It sucks. But it's not your fault or my fault, and it's their fault for dragging us this way. And we should have saw the signs a lot earlier. We should have saw the signs when the Utah Hockey Club scored on that first power play of the season in like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Adam Pelech was like trying to find a puck, and it was in the back of the net. We should have been like, oh yeah, no, this is not going to be fun. Maybe we should just not pay attention this year. But so I'm. This is about as unexcited I've been for a week of Islander hockey as I've in since, I don't know, maybe this time last year, because this was kind of we could be doing the same exact episode we did at a point last year. I'm sure if I look back on like their schedule, we probably said verbatim the same exact shit.
Well, we did call last season a giant waste of time. Like until Wild brought in, that's what it felt like.
Right.
It felt like a giant waste of time, and this feels like a giant waste of time again.
Exactly. That's even worse. Like if last year was a giant waste of time until it wasn't, and then it became one anyways. You should have learned from last season, which was a giant waste of time, that the way to make sure it's not a giant waste of time is to not blow third period leads and be the worst penalty kill power play team in the history of the sport.
Right. And maybe that's the thing too. Like, I know we spent all first half talking about this, but I mean, there's not much to talk about with these games coming up. They're not going to win all 3 of them. They might lose all 3 of them. They might win one. I think they'll probably win one, but who knows? And I'm sure the Leafs haven't forgotten that they're going to get Austin Matthews back for at least one of those games, if not both of them. So they need to be ready for that. Hold on. So they need to be ready for that. But that's the thing. Like, Lamoriello played that card where he pulled the shoot on Lane Lambert probably far too late and brought in Patrick Waugh. And like you said, at first it seemed like a pretty good move. They eventually got on some sort of pace and made the playoffs, and then were ousted in 5 fairly meaningless games. They needed a double overtime winner from a combination of Robert Bortuzzo and Matt Barzal to win their one game. And I get that he's reluctant to play that card again. They fired Doug Huda and brought in Tommy Abeline. But again, none of this has worked. None of it's working right now. Whatever magic Patrick Waugh pulled last year just isn't working. And hearing him talk about how great they played when they can't win more than 2 games in a row isn't helping anybody. So, none of this, it all feels like a giant waste of time. Again, just going around the hamster wheel over and over again. It's just not helping anybody. And you said it a couple of times and you're 100% right. I don't know when the last time, again, I shouldn't say that. I know when the last time we were excited was that Utah game, because we thought that the whole, the training camp with them, with Waugh, they were going to come out. They didn't play great during the preseason, but that's okay. Who cares? And we thought that was it. But from the opening period of that first game, all the excitement for this season was completely washed away, because we knew that they were once again capable of playing exactly like the assholes they had played like in the previous season. And it's just carried that way all season long. I want to be excited for a game against the Leafs. I want my team to go into Toronto like a bunch of rabid dogs and tear that team apart, because it will make an entire country sad. But that's not the team I got. The team we got is we'll see. We got to play better. We got to start to pick it up a little bit, start faster, and and at least they're not blowing games. They're not blowing leads anymore. But now they're just starting poorly. So we need to do something. And that's the team we got. Well, somebody's got to do something. Okay, well, go do it. I don't understand. And again, I believe that they'll probably win Tuesday's day game, like you said, but then they're going to come home and get their ass handed to them on Thursday. And then, maybe they'll lose a tight one or lose a shootout or whatever to the Bruins. They never win in Boston anyway, almost. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But I want to be. Remember when an Islanders Bruins game not long ago was like a playoff series that was one of the best moments of our lives,
right? And
now it's just like, I don't even know, man. Do I even want to watch this? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll go to the movies. It's just
there's only one way to make it interesting, and that's to win. And it's not that it's not that easy for them.
No,
it's just not. It's not at all.
Right. Especially when you can't score on the power play and can't kill penalties. Like, it's impossible. So
you're essentially down 1.5-0 every game with the way the special teams are every game. So, that makes it not fun.
Right.
It'd be like it. Think about it that way, right? Like, the Islanders have had they have the worst penalty kill and the worst power play in the league. So if you average out however it's come to, it's essentially been the Islanders being down 1-0 before the puck drops every game. So I imagine that was the deal. The sports gods, the hockey gods came to you and said, "Yeah, you can watch this Islander game if you want, but you're down 1-0. Do you still want to watch it?" Like, I guess, but I'm sounds kind of shitty. Well, that's what we're living in right now. So, I'm not excited about it at all. I think that the team is. And we're going to get raked over the coals during this process, which I assume, assuming that the Islanders do struggle over this coming week against the two teams that they'll be underdogs against in those 3 games, it's gonna be annoying. The vultures are circling. Pierre LeBrun is rumbling.
His stomach is rumbling.
Yeah, he's rumbling about. He's hearing some rumbles, and it's gonna be one of those times where the best decision is probably just to unplug and get away from the team. Definitely be pictures of empty seats.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
is Bruce Arthur coming to the game? He's gonna take some pictures.
Yeah, Bruce Arthur
definitely
sitting on a couch somewhere in a studio, throwing barbs at us and. It could have been avoided. That's the
Right.
part that really.
The thing about this that might be the worst aspect of this season and the fact that we can't enjoy it is that the New York Rangers are currently in last place in the Metropolitan Division, and I can't even enjoy it.
Right.
Because the Islanders are in 7th. They're 2 points ahead of them.
I had this conversation in the summer. I might even brought it up on the podcast, just talking about the Rangers. Like, I couldn't remember a season in my lifetime where the Rangers completely failed in terms of their expectations, their preseason expectations. Or they just went completely pear-shaped. Right. Like they had a season as the Islanders did a couple of years ago. The Islanders average a cursed season once every 4 years, right? And the Rangers average one once every 60. They still don't win, but they don't go through what we do. And it's happening. And as you said, you can't even enjoy it. Like how am I supposed to enjoy the fact that the Islanders are ahead of the Rangers in the standings for the first time in 3 years? When that is academic. It doesn't matter that they're ahead of the Rangers, because right now it's actually kind of a bad thing, because now I'm like, gosh, shit, the Rangers are going to win the draft lottery, and they're going to draft the kid that's going to be the one guy that was an Islander fan growing up that's going to make the NHL is now going to play for the Rangers. So that's great.
Right.
But the only silver lining that I will say is because of that, because they've never had a season like this, that fan base has never endured what it's like to have things go wrong. And by the way, they shot themselves in the foot. This is an issue of their own doing,
right?
Not just the hockey gods cursing them, like that when they threw Josh Bailey in the brig in Florida and made Matt Barzal get lost, and the entire team got COVID when the Islanders finally opened their new building and Richard Panik was playing on the first line. This is of the Rangers' own doing. That their fan base just they can't come to grips with what it's like to go through a losing season like this.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh my God, the team has completely quit on the coach. They've completely quit on the GM. They've completely done this and that. Like, no, they're just losing. Like, that's what losing looks like. There's no answer. Like, you can search for it, we can help you deal with this. We're very well versed in how to deal with losing seasons over here. So if you need help, we're a phone call away. And I can tell you that Alexis Lafreniere wasn't kidnapped and someone created a clone of him, and that's who's now playing in the number 13 shirt since he signed his extension. It's just he's not playing well because the team isn't playing well right now. It happens in sports. It just never really happened to you guys in a way like this. Mika Zibanejad isn't a double agent trying to play against the Rangers. He's just not playing well. So it's you can't even enjoy that. As we've said, maybe that's the theme, that's the identity of this team, is that they've the things that you're supposed to celebrate in sports, going on the power play, going ahead in a game,
playing at home, your rival completely going bottoms up in one of the funniest ways imaginable. Right.
Can't even enjoy that with these teams because of the way that they've treated us.
It's horrible. So, well, if you're going to either of these games, enjoy. We hope you have a good time. Okay, we've shit upon this is a terrible way to go out for our last episode of a year. So we're going to do something a little bit fun here to wrap things up. We've had a good 2024 as far as the podcast has gone. And so I looked at some of our stats from this year, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to look at some of our most downloaded episodes. We don't really have a sort of encyclopedic knowledge of the numbers or, what the titles were, but let me throw a couple of questions at you here. So I have the 3 most listened to episodes of the year, at least as far as downloads go, and then I have the Spotify numbers as well. What situation do you think led to our most listened to episode of this calendar year?
Patrick Waugh.
Very good. Yes. In fact, episode 273, What the Hell Just Happened, from January 20th of 2024, was our most listened to episode of the season, shockingly enough. Also, one of the rare non-Leboff titled episodes. I knew what that was going to be called when we went into it, and it ended up being a fun one. And to the surprise of no one, that is our most listened to episode of the season, because I'm sure we had a lot of like non-Islanders fans checking in, being like, "Yeah, what the hell did just happen over there?" This is an interesting one. I don't know if you'll be able to know this one, but our second one was post WA, and they actually at one point went on a run. They beat, I think, the Bruins and Stars and Red Wings or something in a week, and we did episode 280 called "Hi, We're Different Now" on March 3rd, 2024. That was our second most listened to episode, because I think that was the one that really sort of pushed them into playoff position that they wouldn't let go of. And then our third most listened to episode last year was actually the finale of last year. Of course, titled one of our favorite quotes, "Tiny Pieces of Business," where we talked about the signing of Duclair and who else they signed last year. I don't even remember. Riley, I guess, was the other one.
Yeah.
And we just emptied the decks on everybody else's stupid, signings and things like that. So yeah, there you go. So episode 273, "What the hell just happened?" Episode 280, "Hi, We're Different Now," and episode 298, "Tiny Pieces of Business." Those were our most downloaded episodes of the season, of this year. How about that?
So I remember that. So that, yeah, they beat the Stars because they played. That was about a month into the WA experience when they went on that little run, and so the Islanders won. And I don't want to bring this up because I want to tie it back to this season, right?
Yeah.
So the Islanders played dreadfully against the against the Tampa. They played dreadfully against the St. Louis Blues,
Right.
and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that sent the Islanders into a stretch, or ended a stretch where the Islanders had lost 5 of 6, and one of the 5 was the Stadium Series. Another one was that shootout loss to the Kraken, which was just dreadful, and then that 5-2 loss in front of all the kids at UBS Arena against the Flames. So they were like in this horrible stretch, right? They were playing terrible. The Lightning game was, they were trying to chase down the Lightning at that point in one of the playoff spots. They kind of bigged it up as a huge game, and the Islanders no-showed. I think they went down 4-0 in that game and scored too late. What? Sound familiar?
Right.
And then they beat the Stars on the road. That was a Bo Horvat overtime game. Beat the Red Wings, another team they were kind of jockeying with, and then they crushed the Bruins. They crushed them 5-1. That was right before the trade deadline, I believe, too. And the reason I want to go through it is, does that sound crazy? No. Like, you could do that. You could beat the Red Wings and the Stars and the Bruins 3 games in a row. And hell, they won the next 3 too, by the way. They beat the Blues, the Sharks, and the Ducks to run to 6 in a row. And then,
right.
of course, on the other side of that was the 6-game losing streak just to wipe it out. But
Right. But then they won like 6 in a row after that, I think.
The point is, the Islanders won 6 games in a row here. Like, they won 6 in a row. And then they won 6 in a row again a few weeks later. That's all. You can do it. It's not. It almost sounds like the team's like, you guys are asking too much of us to win 2 in a row. Like, wasn't the game against the Maple Leafs good enough? Like, wasn't that was a good performance? That's not like where, like, you use the term gaslighting, and I think it's the right way to use it. Is like, we're the ones who are asking too much, like winning 2 games in a row. That's crazy. You're like, come on, we won. We just won against the Maple Leafs, and then we lost against the Sabres, but then we beat the Penguins. And you want us to beat the Penguins again? Come on, isn't that enough? Like, when will you guys ever be satisfied with the way we're playing? And then you can point to last year and say, well, you won 6 games in a row twice in the last 2 months of the season. So just go do that. Just go win. It doesn't have to be 6. Go win 3 in a row.
I mean, start with 3 in a row. Yeah, I don't know. It's insane. But yeah, I had completely forgotten about all of those streaks over the course of the last year, because it's been so up and down. And so I was a little bit surprised to see that was our second most listened to episode. Over on Spotify, everything's more or less the same. Our first most listened to episode was the finale again, Tiny Piece of Business. But then our second most listened to episode was this first episode of this season, episode 300, You're Not Coming to Six Flags, which was the Pierre Engvall got waived episode. So pretty interesting. I'm not surprised the WA one was the most listened to, again, because I feel like we had a lot of tourists on that one, but I hope it was good. I hope people enjoyed it because that was we're never going to be able to capture that again, and just the strangeness of this guy being here. We didn't even know he knew the Islanders existed, let alone he was going to coach them. But over in Weird Islanders, I'll give you a guess. I don't know if you'll be able to do this, but do you have a guess? You want to venture a guess as to which was the most listened to episode of Weird Islanders, the podcast, from this calendar year? I can give you a hint.
I'll guess it was. I'll go with either Randy Robitaille or Marc-Andre Bergeron.
Robitaille was actually up there, but the actual answer is Michael Dal Cole. Episode 42, the Michael Dal Cole episode with our friend Brian Compton was the most downloaded episode of Weird Islanders podcast. Second most was Chris Osgood with our friend Michael Paul Smith. Both great. And shout out to both those guys. Thank you for listening to those as well. And check out our episode on Weird Islanders from last week if you haven't, because of the holidays and everything. It's about Robin Leonard, as I said before, with our friend Sean Cuthbert. And it came out really great. And we talk about Leonard's time with the Islanders and how much we all still appreciate it. I was surprised that Dal Cole was it. And because Dal Cole's came out late, it was February. And it was the most listened to one. I'm sure we got the B Comp bump on Twitter or whatever after he shared it. It's still a fairly sizable audience, so thanks, B Comp. But yeah, so I have numbers for these things, but they're meaningless because I don't know if they're any good or not. All I know is that this is just relevant for us. I don't know where this puts us in the charts of all the hockey podcasts out there, but the reality is that we cannot thank you enough for listening to all of our shows, any of our shows, whether this is your first episode you're listening to, or you've been with us for 312 episodes, whether you listen to Just Anxiety, Just Weird Islanders, both, either one, whatever it is, you listen to our strange, one-offs here and there. If you're a patron, if you're not a patron, whatever it is, we appreciate you. We cannot thank you enough. We have fun doing this. We have fun knowing that there are people out there that think the same way we do. And it's always very satisfying when somebody's like, you guys were able to articulate and put into words exactly what I was feeling while watching that game. That means something to us because that means that we're not crazy. It's easy to feel like you're out on an island, pun intended, when your team is like really has an effect on your mood and how your outlook on life. And you're like, is this normal? Am I supposed to be feeling this way? Is this stupid sports team supposed to have this much of an effect on my mood and my well-being? And the answer is, I don't know if it's supposed to happen, but it's happening to a lot of other people, and I have the numbers to back it up. So we thank you for listening and for hearing us ranting, and hopefully we can make you feel a little bit better as we make ourselves feel a little bit worse every time we talk about this team. I don't know. Any final words on these numbers here, or these episodes, or the last year in general on the podcast?
Yeah, you don't know where those numbers put us in the podcast verse, but you can feel pretty confident that we're probably the number one Michael Dal Cole and Randy Robitaille podcast ever.
Probably true.
Done. So so congratulations to us for that. But yeah, you say it like it's been a lot of fun to do this every year. It's one of the high points of my week every week to talk about the Islanders, even though I hate the Islanders. And I do appreciate hearing from people all the time, whether it's in Twitter DMs and or text message, however, because I'll always continue the conversation and in those means with people who listen and want to talk about the Islanders in the fashion we do, instead of just being like, screw Lou, screw Sorokin, screw Wah, or whatever it is. But yes, as you said, this team came dangerously close to putting a damper on Christmas and stuff. But I and that's what this show is kind of all about. It's like, I know that there are people out there who woke up on Christmas morning and had to give their head a shake, be like, I can't be mad about that the Islanders lost 7-1 to the Sabres 2 nights ago because it's Christmas and I've got kids and family and it's supposed to be about that and not the Islanders. And you definitely weren't alone having them creep, those thoughts creep into your head as you were sitting down with your family on Christmas, because I was there and with you. I actually got a Chris Osgood jersey.
Yes. Sweet.
Yes, for Christmas, which I
Mm.
I appreciate. And we never did the episode about Deron Quint's the gift he got me.
Right.
But I will reveal it now, and we can still do the episode because people
Sure.
do tend to trail off at this point of the podcast, so very few will be listening to it. But what I got from Deron Quint, I can kind of wear with my Chris Osgood jersey, even though I catch left-handed. Deron Quint, the mensch he is, sent me in the mail a box, and when he told us that he was sending me something, I just assumed it was going to be like a jersey or maybe something like just a jersey. Like I thought it was going to be something like kind of normal.
Right.
What I got was not normal. It was and I mean that in a good way. It is a Rick DiPietro game used catching glove that has a Sharpie on it that says 2Q, you are a great friend, signed Rick DiPietro. And then on the outside of the glove is a note from Deron Quint that says, where is it? I'll find it. But basically, Deron Quint signed it too. Here it is. To Mike, 2006-07 playoff run, ! Best wishes, Deron Quint. So I am now the proud owner of a Deron Quint signed, Rick DiPietro catching glove.
That's incredible. Yeah, when you showed me the pictures of this, I was like, "That's awesome."
I was flawed.
That's amazing.
And that was the day I got laid off from work too.
Yeah.
So I had this crazy day where all of a sudden I sat down, got laid off on a Zoom call, got up from my chair, walked to the front door. I saw this big box. I was like, "Oh, this is from Deron Quint." Opened the box, saw a Rick DiPietro catching glove in there. Closed the box, kind of gave my head a shake again, and was like, "What the hell is going on right now?" And yeah, it was a wild day, but
right.
Amazing, it was.
And he threw a bunch of other like goodies in there too.
Yeah,
right?
he sent a bunch of signed like cards and pictures and stuff. But yeah, that was part of the experience. I don't even remember what the point of explaining that was, but it's always been fun. This ride, because it does this podcast does end up taking you into funny places, and I've met so many people that I now consider good friends, just because they listened and have reached out, and I really always appreciate that. And we could always use some more reviews. I haven't looked in a while. I don't think we have had any podcast reviews in quite a bit, but so if you feel like you want to leave us a review, go right ahead.
You can do them on Spotify too. There's a way to like leave reviews on Spotify as well. So Apple or Spotify, I think that's about it. I don't know if you could do it on YouTube, but you can subscribe to us on YouTube too. That helps.
Yeah, exactly. And we say, I mean, I'm always trying to think about I'm at a bit of a crossroads in life with the baby and the job and whatever, but I am hoping to be able to add to the output at the Patreon and come up with new ideas. And if you have any ideas for stuff you'd like to see for 2025, we'd love to hear it too. So, but yeah, thank you so much for listening all year. It's hopefully 2025, at least the beginning, is better, and the end of 2024, maybe they do win these. I'm rooting for them to win these games. I just expect them to ruin my day 3 times over the next 7 days. So there we go.
Hey, you never know. Calendar turns and weird stuff happens. But for sure. It's been 2024 has been a weird, crazy year. I mean, at least as far as we are concerned, but it's never not satisfying doing all this. And we wouldn't keep doing this if we didn't have fun. So we thank you so much for listening, and we hope you continue to listen. And again, wherever you can, leave us a review. Obviously, sign up for the Patreon as well. And if you do, you'll see my next book club post, which comes out on Tuesday, about a book written by Stan Fischler and Chico Resch. Yes, they were not just Devils broadcast teammates. They also wrote a book together, and I read it. And it goes, the post about that goes up on New Year's Eve. So check that out. And don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon, obviously. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible.com, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, wherever you get your podcasts. And as Mike said, please leave us a review where you can. It really does help raise the profile of the show. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify and look out for their new record, God Looks Out for Fools. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Of course, obviously, huge thanks to Dom and Jenny and Steve for all they do as well every single day over at the site. Islanders Anxiety Podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at the Big Lebowski with 2 E's. I'll be the one complaining about prospects at the World Junior tournament.
Oh, that's you? All right.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. God, I can't wait for this tournament to be over. I just cannot wait.
I heard something Latvia. That's all I know. That's all that's all I know about the World Junior this year. But I'm sure it's very important, and it'll become super important the closer we get to the draft. But yeah, so follow Mike at the Big Lebowski with 2 E's. Any final thoughts on this? Another week for this team where they just can't seem to win more than one game. I just don't know what. I mean, we've said a lot over the last hour and 40 minutes. I don't know what else there is to say else, but is there anything, I don't know where else do we go from here in 2025? It seems impossible almost that things will change, but maybe they will. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. And I guess the upshot of things not being linear are that that could mean that the Islanders just somehow do jolt to life over the next few weeks and make things interesting, because that would be the thing you'd least expect. But the Islanders seem to only do the things you least expect when they're not good. Like when you're hoping for them to do the thing you least expect, like win 3 games in a row, they don't do it. So yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I will be there on Tuesday afternoon watching the Islanders because I don't have the willpower to not do it. And I will, even if they lose that one, I will likely be there watching the Islanders on Thursday night and then again on Sunday night. And I've got nobody to blame but myself for how they make me feel after those 3 losses. So yeah. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Well, Happy New Year to all of us. Yeah, I'll be watching too. I told my wife before. That's right. I completely forgot. I got to ruin my New Year's Eve by watching these idiots in the afternoon before I host my mother-in-law for New Year's Eve. That's our big party. My wife, my daughter, and my mother-in-law. That's it. And me watching Wicked on New Year's Eve. So maybe if hopefully the Islanders are better than Wicked, but if they're not, at least I'll probably end up watching Wicked, and hopefully maybe I'll like it. I don't know. We'll see, but I'll let you guys know. Thank you for listening. Have a happy New Year. Thank you for all your listens and your support over the last year. And we'll be back next year and next episode next week. See where the Islanders are at then. All right. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.